today we're going to be finally starting the Jinx. And let me tell you, I'm only on the second episode, but whoa, I don't know how it took me so long to get into this. But anyways, obviously I know the story, but let's really get into it. We're gonna be doing 2 episodes per my episodes, so there'll be 3 covering each of them. So in this episode, we're going to be doing episode 1 and episode 2. For people listening to this on the free feed, you're obviously only going to be getting the first episode, um, and the rest will be behind the paywall. Um, Without further ado, let's jump in. So, episode 1. So we are in Galveston, Texas. It's 2001. A kid had found, while fishing, what they thought was a torso. There was no head, there was no arms, it was just the torso. And it was in the water. And the cop that I guess showed up on the scene first describes a situation of which I did not expect. But he basically describes having to pretty much pull the torso, like put his hand through the whole of the torso and yanks it up out of the water. His response, well, how else was I supposed to get it out of the water? Okay. Wow. Um, so then they found what was like a black garbage bag that was also in the water, and there it contained the remaining parts of this body except for the head. So everything's there except for the head. Where is the head? I don't know. They found something with an address that led them back to an older gentleman whose name was Morris Black. And we do find out at this point once they were able to pretty much see like the I think they were able to find out like which apartment he was in, able to connect it all back to him, and that this was most likely the apartment was most likely where he was killed. So they are able to say that their victim was Morris Black. Plus, I think they also had they tested the fingerprints, so that was another indication. Um, so yeah, he lived in apartment 2, and this is where they found what was clearly cleanup of blood. They found a blood stain. So they saw how they thought to do this. They saw like scratches on the flooring, just like literally stuck on flooring. And they pulled back said flooring, and there they found a blood stain. So this was where they were kind of able to determine, okay, this is Morris Black's blood. This is clearly where he was dismembered. So not just killed, but dismembered on the kitchen floor. At least, I'm not saying it, I can't believe I just said that. Normally, I can't believe I said that either. When someone decides they want to just dismember somebody, they don't do it on a kitchen floor, but you do you, bad murderer person. So they end up finding out, I guess through the grapevine, that there was a woman who lived in an apartment above Morris Black's who traveled a lot. This woman wasn't always there. But then why, like, they're trying to kind of give the air of this woman who lived in this apartment was well off. She had money. And the police say, okay, cool, but how, why would a woman who has wealth want to live in this dump? Very good question. She was also apparently a mute. Who knows? But they do find out that her name is Dorothy Signer or Snyder, Signer. But y'all, Dorothy Signer doesn't freaking exist. More on her later. But in this context, she doesn't exist. And they apparently find out as well that not only was Dorothy Signer coming in and out of this apartment, but they also found out that there was a man who was also coming in and out of the apartment who they thought was her brother-in-law. This feels very Mrs. Doubtfire. Okay. You know, like when the social worker goes to Daniel's apartment, how did that name just pop out my head? But you know, goes into to just shows up at the apartment and she sees Mrs. Doubtfire, but then Mrs. Doubtfire has to say, "Oh, I'm his sister from England." Yeah, this is basically how this feels because y'all, we're about to get into it. I I completely forgot that situation where there's a fake woman involved in this. Anyways, they go through the trash to kind of get some information on Dorothy Signer. They found an appointment receipt for eyeglasses that had to be picked up with a date and a time. So the problem is, though, that the receipt had the name Robert Durst. Who the fuck is Robert Durst? Well, we're going to get into it. So they go to the clinic and they say, "Hey, know that there's a Robert Durst who's supposed to be coming up to pick up some glasses. If he picks up the glasses, here's my card. Tell me if he shows up." So then, after they go there, they go to a store where they see like there's another receipt where this Dorothy Signer or whatever bought a bow cutter, um, and other things that would be considered a freaking killing kit or tool kit or what? But then the detective gets a page on his pager, y'all. So if nobody knows what a pager is, it's like this little device that you would hook onto your belt and it would buzz and vibrate. And then you would have to take it off of your belt loop and then you would check and see, oh, there's a number that you have to call back because like the person on the other end could put the number in. Yeah. Or they could put another thing like 911. More on that later. So this is basically what you did when you needed to get somebody's attention or say, "Hi, I need you." Yeah. Pagers. Am I right? Anyways. So he gets the page and he says the number. He's like, "It's kind of familiar, but I don't know the number." So what does he do? Ignores it. My guy, you are a detective. You're currently investigating a murder. Okay. You just went to an eye clinic where you're literally saying, "Hey, if the dude shows up, please let me know." And then you're going to be like, "Huh, what's this number? God, what did y'all do without Google?" Because you know what I would have done? If I would have gotten that little page, I would have been like, "What's that?" And then put the number into Google and then get my answer. Lord, wow. Anyways, this is how we didn't survive without Google, apparently. So he doesn't recognize the number, but then they page him again, this time saying 911. And he's like, "Oh shit, it's the clinic." So they go and they nearly missed him. They literally had to be like like in a movie, just block him in and they arrest him. And in the car, they actually found said bow cutter that they saw that was on the receipt for the store that they were just at. But they think, this guy, this guy killed somebody and dismembered him. I mean, he looks like a librarian. Yeah, and Ted Bundy looked like a normal human fucking being. When are we gonna learn? So, um, his bail was set at $250,000. And Robert apparently asks, "So what do I do?" "Well, I don't know. Rot in prison? That's an option, right?" And they ask him, well, do you have $250,000? He's like, well, not on me. Normally, people don't have that kind of money just lying about. You know what I mean? Yeah, just check back later. I'll give you my $250,000. Anyways, um, he's like, no problem. Like we can, yeah, we can figure this out. So then they find out that he calls a Deborah Lee, who he asks her to send this $250,000. She's like, yeah, no, 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 no problem. You get it in the morning. Oh, guys, she's his wife, and she lives in New York. He's in Galveston, Texas, if we all recall. And my gosh, it has an attitude on her, more on her. The detective the next day had about 21 questions on his phone. Sorry, not questions, messages on his phone. Because when you walk away from a phone, right, and someone calls you, they don't get in touch with you. They'll sometimes leave a message on your answering machine. We didn't have text messaging. You know what I mean? So he's saying that he would usually have two on like a typical day. This particular day, he had 21. So we find out a little bit about Robert Durst. So he's from a rich family in New York. And not just that, he is also a suspect in his wife's disappearance. I'm sorry, what? See, I knew about this, but for the effect. What? So Kathleen Durst disappeared back in the 80s. It was 1982, I believe. And after her disappearance, he fucked off to Galveston to run away. I'm sorry, but that's suspicious. Why are you running? What'd you do? Hey, Bobby, what'd you do? So Robert was due in court for the Morris Black murder. And guess what, guys? He's a no-show. Now he's a goddamn fugitive. Now he's thinking he's fucking Harrison Ford and he has to run away from Tommy Lee Jones. Like, what is going on? So now we got to find him. This is where we find out that Dorothy Signer actually is a real person. She's actually someone that he went to high school with. And we see her photo and then we see his photo in the yearbook. And now, poor Dorothy Signer, I hope she's doing well. But she is unfortunately on the FBI's most wanted list. Can you imagine when you just give your ID and you're just like, oh, you're wanted in connection of a murder back in Galveston, New York, Texas, and the poor Dorothy's gonna be like, what? She's never been to Galveston or some shit. So, if I'm following correctly, when it comes to Kathleen's disappearance, he went to the home where he shared with Kathleen while on the run. We'll talk about that more later. And he was spotted by the new owner of the home. No, you don't say. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you just going humana on people's properties that no longer belongs to you? Make it make sense. But then this idiot gets arrested at a store because guess what, guys? He tried to steal a fucking hoagie. He really wanted that hoagie, that he was going to go and steal the hoagie when he's a goddamn fugitive. Stay stupid. So when they go through his rental car, they found thousands of dollars in cash. So if you have thousands of dollars in cash, why are you stealing a hoagie? What is going on? So he was in Pennsylvania, so obviously he would have to be extradited back to Texas. So we hear a jailhouse phone call with Deborah for him saying, it's so cold in prison. Oh, boo hoo. Try being cold in the goddamn grave, you son of a bitch. Anyway, oh, wait, he is. So he apparently may have threatened to kill his brother. He says, no, yeah, I didn't try killing him. It's fine. Or I didn't threaten to. It's fine. And Deborah is big mad that his brother stole his birthright. His birthright, y'all. So Robert How do you feel about Douglas, that's his brother, hiring a bodyguard? Robert responds with, he's a pussy. Wow. Wow. Says the person who couldn't even steal something more entertaining than a goddamn hoagie. But anyways, so he was real hungry, y'all. So he's being extradited back to Texas, and we hear a conversation between him and Deborah about kind of like what expression he needs to have on his face when he's kind of being walked to said extradition. And it's like, it's all theatrics, and she's buying into it. And it's just like, eh. Anyways, and I made this joke here where I say, we should have called him Robert Derp. Okay, bye. Okay, bye bye. Oh, God. Okay, more on that later. So Deborah doesn't like Michael Kennedy. He apparently is in the running to becoming Robert's lawyer. She's like, I can't stand for this. I can't do this if you're going to pick him. She basically threatens to divorce him if he retains this Michael Kennedy guy. Wow. Wow. Narcissism at its goddamn finest. Manipulation at its finest. You know what? Impressive. So now she's telling him, make me your power of attorney so that she can make sure she has access to money or some shit. I don't freaking know. And she talks about them not wanting her to have access to, yeah, to the trust money later on. What later on would mean death. So they talk about lawyers that he wanted, some guy named DeGarian, can't remember his first name, and she wanted Michael Ramsey. So what does he do? He hires both of them. Problem solved. And that's kind of where that whole saga ends, because then we jump ahead 10 years later. We hear about a movie called All Good Things, I believe is what it's called, or yeah, a good whatever. About a disappearance. And we meet a very, very good looking Andrew Jarecki. Oh, and apparently the disappearance of which they are going to be speaking on, it's Kathleen Durst's disappearance. And then they get a phone call from Bob Durst himself. And he says, I'm looking for Andrew Jarecki. So they, the phone calls between them is when, like, this is when it starts. And this is Robert. Him. So I saw the movie and I have an idea. Would it make sense to have an interview with me about the movie? Okay, yeah, I'll get in touch. Okay, bye bye. And he's really hoping for this interview with Jarecki, like he is pushing for it. And then we see the start of the interview, and y'all, I need to say this. It creeps me out. His eyes are just dark fucking holes. This man has seen shit in his life, and I mainly mean the things that he's inflicted on other people. It's something. Anyways, that's episode 1. And again, that's the end of the episode for the main feed people. But of course, again, if you want to hear the rest of this and get the rest of the other episodes, you got to head on over to patreon.com and go to and join at the third tier, which is $7 a month, where you'll get this and all the others that I've done so far. So with that being said, let's jump into episode 2.